All right, welcome back to the third installment of the behind the scenes of my short film Flea. I'm Spencer Sakurai, the writer and director, and if you haven't seen the other two episodes of this series, you might want to go check those out first to be caught up and see what we did before getting to this third day of shooting. So this is actually the afternoon of day 3. We started at the LED volume earlier in the day, but I already made a video over that, so we're not going to be discussing that in this video, but I will have a link to that right up here in the corner if you want to check that out. So we're over at 1984 Studios located in downtown Oklahoma City to get the shots for one of the largest scenes inside the film. It's probably one of the biggest set pieces of the film. Although it's not very many pages in the script, it is kind of a long thriller sequence that we really had to draw out and make suspenseful, so it took a very long time. So what I'm doing here is actually walking through everything that we have to film on the day, because it's such a long sequence and not everyone has the script on hand all the time. I think it was a really helpful thing just to really encapsulate the whole scene and show it off, but at the end of the day we still didn't quite make the day, and we had to come back a second day to get all these shots, which we will talk about a little bit later in the video. We did a lot of different things for this. We actually were bouncing back and forth between cameras on this setup because we needed to have a camera that can be mobile and basically act like a big moving Steadicam. We're using a gimbal here, actually with the Sony FX3, which was also helpful because we could shoot in a darker environment using that camera. But for a lot of shots as well, we were still using the Sony Venice with the Zeiss Supreme primes. We've got a lot of extras in this scene, not to spoil too much, but there is a little bit of a body discovery scene, and so I've got all these extras laying down for me. It's amazing what people will do for you for the craft of filmmaking. And action. Corey was on the gimbal most of the time with the FX3, but then also using his little Segway to roll back and forth to keep things nice and smooth and get rid of all those footsteps. It's always nice when you have a DP camera operator that can do stuff like that. Thanks for that, Corey. It was kind of a tricky location to shoot in. It was a very echoey location. It was right by some train tracks, which caused for some issues and some delays with audio, obviously. And we were mostly lighting with just this practical lantern in the scene, which kind of had its own issues, trying to figure out the brightness with that, trying to rig a light bulb in it, and then deciding in the end we just should use fuel and do it practically like that and not have full control, which honestly, using an actual flame looks really nice, and it turned out pretty well in the end. You're gonna actually exaggerate it as it's a joke, right? You're just like pushing it at him and back. That's all you're doing.
Yeah.
And then back to where you're doing.
Sound speeds, 1 and 2 bigger, take one.
We were mostly only using tube lights for this, but honestly it took a really long time to set up. Corey the DP really took pride in making sure it was as dark as possible to give it as much mood as possible, and so he blacked out as much as he could and then put little accents of lights across this entire interior space.
Is this the last day? Or is it the...
This is the last day. Well, it's not.
It's not.
It's the last day for everyone.
But not for
Except
you.
for me. There's still like 4 more people that come on the next one probably. So here we are. This is actually many days later. I had to bring in the actor back from Texas to pull off these shots and bring in another little skeleton crew. Not the full crew we had originally because of scheduling conflicts, but a new crew, some more of my friends in the industry here to help out on this. I'm so appreciative of the people that donated their time to come help me make this project. It really means so much, and you know who you are. We also had a lot of fun little lighting gags in here, so you can see here we're doing a little shot where we're turning on the lantern. And when it actually kicks on, it does add enough fill in the actual scene to make it look believable. To also add to that, Corey and the lighting guys here had a nice idea of putting a tube light up against the wall and slowly pulling it back to reveal more light as the lantern turned on, which was really cool. Controlling everything from the app here, which you can now do, you know, with the Nanlite Pavo tubes and all the new Nanlite lights that are coming out. They all work inside their Nanlite app. Very nice, I have to say, now that that app is nice and updated. We actually made a very long shot list on our phones, and we shared it with a few people on the crew, and we can mark off the shots as we went through. You know, I talked about in my previous video where I could do a storyboard, but if you don't want to storyboard every shot, you could do shot lists for every shot instead. And you just know you're getting the shots done, and when you get back to edit, you're like, they're all here, now it's just a matter of putting them together. We're using a lot of haze here. It's actually important to the story, and just have those tube lights out. It's funny looking at this footage, it looks kind of boring. It's just people walking down a corridor, but that's how you build suspense in films. You know, it's that anticipation of what's going to happen next. We got a lot of shots of them just walking in this corridor. You can see here they're doing another lighting gag here. They're slowly moving a light down to get it farther away from them, as if the lantern's getting farther away from the light. The next shot, we'll be leading with them. Yeah, two shot.
Okay.
And then when we come to this one, it'd be more of like over the OTS once they stop.
Okay. Cool. But we're just in front of them, pointing back this way.
Why not?
So OTS, and so then she can, when we to cut back to, like, she's like, smell what? He says that line. I think perspective-wise, it's, we're with them. A lot of moving parts here. We had to make this space look longer than it was, as well as a lot of shots had to be done in this. Corey actually decided to start timing the shots because we realized we had to get, like, I think 29 shots in this one night done. In order to do that, he did the math real quick, and he's like, if we're going till like 2 or 3 in the morning, which we did, we have 12 minutes to get each shot. In some cases, 12 minutes is no big deal. If the lighting is kind of already good from the last shot and you're on a Ronin, you can just pop off a shot real quick. But in a lot of instances too, we had to relight, move things down, maybe we swap cameras, whatever, then that shot might take 30 minutes, you know? And so we just kind of have to make up time as we can throughout the day. We did end up going, I think, about an hour over. We shot till like 4 in the morning. It was long, but luckily we didn't start on this day until, you know, like 5 o'clock. So it wasn't as bad as some of the other days, except we just went really late. Doing a little gag here. We're doing a kind of a body pool effect that you've probably seen in a couple of movies in your life, which it just is a really fun thing that we had to try to problem solve. And I feel like John Dewberry here, the gaffer, came up with a fun idea with a skateboard and a rope to pull our character into this mist. Although it was echoey in here, I do feel like the audio in this room turned out pretty decent. With just a little noise reduction, I was able to make the audio in this room sound nice. And honestly, the echo adds to the effect and shows where they're at. We get like a little master and like put us in a weave. So I feel like we should just like shoot that.
Okay.
I think it's the propane.
Boom. Back on the FX3 here, we're actually able to use the FX3 with my new Poco PL mount, and so we're able to use the Zeiss Supreme lenses on this rig for the rest of this setup. A lot of people doing a lot here. You can see that we are in motion. You know, right? Corey has to walk backwards. We've got lighting moving with us. We've got audio moving with us. It's really an all hands on deck sort of thing, except for me sitting here in this chair. But I have to be watching the screen to see what's going on the big screen.
Shot of it too, because we don't want it to be too far away, because we still need him. We still need this shot of.
We'll be a lot closer physically with the camera when we do that. But this one, it needs to be like far away, like can see it down the corridor. Now he needs to go towards it. There we go! Great, good. Did a little fun projector effect at the end. We wanted a practical effect on something that happens at the end of the scene, which I cannot show you, so this might cut off here because it would spoil the film, and I don't want to do that. But it is always fun to try to get as much as you can in camera, and we use this really nice projector that the owner of 1984 Studios had to get this kind of fun effect rather than doing it digitally in post. All right, so that's day 3 of shooting Flea. It's actually day 3, half of 3 and half of 6, but we were shooting the same scene, so I thought it just made sense to show that here. Stay tuned for a few more behind the scenes videos of Flea, and before we go, I want to talk about this video's sponsor, which is Squarespace. Now, Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to present your work online. If you're a cinematographer or a photographer, you're looking for a place to put your portfolio online, Squarespace is the place to do that. It just makes it so easy. You could just use one of their pre-existing award-winning templates to get going or build a website from scratch. But either way, the tools are so easy to get that job done. They've actually updated their system recently, and you can actually use this kind of snap grid system where you can just move things around on a page and align it and design it however you want. It just gives you the total freedom to design a page that best represents you and your style and your work. You can obviously embed videos on the page from any site like Vimeo or YouTube, which just makes it seamless to be able to upload your content and show it off online. So if you're anything like me and you need to present your work online, well, you can just do that with Squarespace. Click the link in the description to get 10% off, and I want to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video.